Will you highlight us when Eric joins us, please?
Will do.
Thank you. We'll
Eric's on.
Excuse me?
I said Eric is on, so we can get started when you want.
Okay. Why don't we introduce ourselves? I'm Barry Schneider, and you are?
And I am Felice Farber.
What is this?
And we are co-chairs of the Parks and Waterfront Committee. And Will is laughing at our take.
I love it. I love the routine.
But sadly, and with great admiration, this is Barry's last meeting as co-chair of the Parks Committee after a long and storied and productive career, I would say, as an active member of the community board in practically every role, and certainly instrumental in crafting a plan for parks and for the community, and really advocating for this community. Barry is stepping down as a community board member, so it will be sad for me to see him go on this community board, and certainly admire all that you have done, Barry.
That's very sweet of you. Thank you very much. But let's be clear, I'm stepping aside, not stepping down. I'll still be in the community, and I will still be very much involved in all the activities of the community board and the various associations that I'm affiliated with. I just thought it was time now, after 30 years, it's time to step aside. But thank you for your very kind words.
Well, thank you for all that you have done. So Will, should I turn it over to you to make the introductions?
Okay. Let me pull up my little script.
Yep.
So we'll welcome everyone. If this is your first time joining us, you'll notice that you're muted, and you're going to stay muted throughout the duration of the meeting. Everyone will be muted except for our co-chairs, Felice and Barry, and any presenters that are making presentations. Following each presentation and each agenda item, the co-chairs will call on members of the public who wish to speak. You can participate by going to the reactions icon and pressing the raise hand button. It's not the wave or the thumbs up. Those will disappear. Only press it once. If you press it a second time, your hand will go back down. If you're calling in from the phone, it is *9 to raise your hand, and then *6 to be unmuted whenever you're called upon. Be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once one of the co-chairs calls on you. If you're having problems, the chat is available for technical support only to help with Zoom software. It is not to ask questions of the presenters or the co-chairs. They will never see those chats. If you're using an older version of Zoom, you'll need to go to the participants section where you'll find the raise hand feature there. And finally, we encourage you not to raise your actual hand or wave at the screen because we might miss you and not be able to see you. So chat me if you're having problems. I'm here to support. I'll hand it back over to our co-chairs.
Thank you, Will. So tonight, Barry, you want to go ahead?
Sure, if you don't mind. This evening, we're going to be discussing the East River Esplanade. We have with us Eric Linzalotti. He's a Deputy Director of Engineering for Parks and Recreation, and he's going to tell us about what's going on between 59th and 96th, the Community District 8 portion of the East River Esplanade. Eric, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Hi, anytime. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So thanks for having me again. I've got some brief remarks. So a lot going on, as usual for the last few years, starting from south to north. I'll let you know that the East Midtown Greenway and Andrew Haswell Green project are still on schedule for completion fall 2023. The Parks Department topside work at 68th to 70th Street is going to be completing in the very near future. They just had their substantial inspection. And that means they're making sure everything is ready to open up to the public again. So that's going to definitely be open up probably by the end of the month, which is great news. Our bigger projects, our phase 3 contract, which is East 62nd to 63rd, 90th to 94th, and 76th to 81st, is Still waiting for Army Corps permitting. This has been a big problem for us. As most of you know, we submitted our permit applications in May of 2020. That's not a mistake. It's May 2020. We just had a series of calls with Army Corps and a few other agencies that are involved in the permitting process, and they are not giving us a permit in the very near future. We're trying to work through the issues with them, but basically they're taking to be frank, a really hard line on some of the regulations, and coupled with the fact that they didn't get to that response to us until very recently has really been a brutal delay for us. Everything else is totally lined up. We're trying to figure out a way to expedite the procurement of construction, so we can get moving on that slow process while the permitting gets worked out. But as of now, that project is still waiting for that final permitting step to be complete.
Are they using COVID shutdown as a reason for the delay?
That was definitely a reason for the delay of their review, without a doubt. And the people who are working there, I'm not gonna. They've been upfront with us. They've been good partners to work with. I think that they're doing what they can. They definitely had some staff losses during COVID and definitely some efficiency issues during COVID. So I won't, that definitely factors into it. But I think a bigger issue is just this, I think, more extreme regulatory environment that we have here now that we did not have a few years ago.
Eric, on a personal note, do you think I should intervene, being a former Army officer in the United States Army? Would that help?
I don't know if it would, but anyone I think supporting the project would help let them know that this is a priority for the community. I'm sure that's always helpful. I don't know if it's something that a personal intervention can make a difference on. It seems to be a regulatory issue that maybe the regulations are more stringent now than they have been before.
I'll pass on it this time. I was a distinguished officer from 1958 to 1956 to 1958, and I earned my silver bar before I left the service. But that's another story for another time. Sorry, continue. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry that this is taking so long. We've been talking about this for years, Barry, and
yes.
2 years ago, I had said at this point, everything is wrapped up, our permit applications are in, and now it's just a waiting game. And unfortunately, I'm still saying the same thing to you, and I hate it, frankly. Especially if you're stepping down now, I can't even give you that good news on your last day.
Again, not a down, but a side.
Right, sorry.
Okay.
So, in other news, we got some news about some sinkholes at East 80th Street, which we were able to take a look at. Our parks maintenance staff met me out there, and we dug it up a little bit and stuck our heads in there and found out that it's not an emergency like we had at East 76th Street. They were able to fill that sinkhole. That whole area is going to be part of phase 3, and that's the area that we did that emergency work at 2 years ago, and we were able to squeeze the budget a little bit to make sure that we're able to do the invisible work that's from the water side as soon as that contract gets permitted, which is good news. Moving to the north, the John Finley Walk, the FDR Promenade Bridge from 81st and 90th Street with New York City Department of Transportation. They are still on schedule. They report to me to complete final design middle of next year. And then they should be in construction around the summer of 2024. And construction will probably take a long time since it's mostly work involving from the roadway. So we're not going to see most of it from the park, but they are going to be doing a good amount of topside work also. Pavers, railing, cleaning the joints, some work on the entrances. So at the end, it's going to be a pretty nice upgrade for the site. And that is my update. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, well, let's go to the public. I have a question or two, but let's go to the members of the public. I see Judy Schneider.
Just remind everybody that they can use the reactions button at the bottom of their screen to find the raise hand button and raise your hand if you'd like to comment. Go ahead, Judy.
Eric, thank you for the update. Can you give us an example of some of the problem or a problem that's holding up this with the Army Corps of Engineers? What type of problem are we having?
Yeah, it's a kind of technical, and there's a few kind of components to it. Basically, they need, as part of this project, we had to do offsite mitigation for the environmental disruption. So we're going under these wharfs and we're filling them with a lightweight concrete material to stabilize them. So it holds it up and it doesn't keep deteriorating. Because if you recall from previous presentations, we talked about how the timber piles that are supporting these structures are all rotting because the water is cleaner, and now the marine borers are coming back and eating the wood. So a reasonably economical solution. It's not very economical, it's still expensive, but it's less expensive than other things, is to go underneath it and to basically fill that area with a lightweight concrete that basically, freezes all that biological activity and provides some support. To do that legally, we've got to do mitigation for the fact that we are taking that current area that's a habitat for certain species, and we're making it concrete. It's no longer viable habitat for anything. So we've got to do a project offsite. We've got a few locations at some other parks lined up where we're going to do some wetland restoration work, and that funding for this comes out of the East River Esplanade budget. It's pretty standard type of approach, and we were prepared to do it. We had everything lined up. The New York State DEC approved all of our mitigation. They gave us our permits a long while ago at this point. But the Army Corps is saying that they need those mitigation projects to also be fully permitted at the same time as this repair project, which was surprising for us to hear. So that's one kind of issue that.
Well, let's stick with that issue. So you now have to get a permit from the state to do the mitigation work in the other parks. Are you processing that?
Yeah, we are. And it's not.
And will that take a long time?
It could. It's not just a permit from the state. It's a few regulatory hoops we have to jump through. And state DEC had already given us approval to do our repair project while this other mitigation project was in process. Basically, the Parks Department promised formally that we were going to do it, and as a stipulation of the permit we got from DEC, it said we're also doing this work in conjunction within a certain amount of time. Army Corps would not let us do it basically on that good faith promise. They're saying that everything has got to be permitted all at once as if it's one big project, even though we're saying the repairs are really urgent. And these mitigation projects are, one is in the Bronx and the other is in Queens, and the Parks Department owns the property and we're working on it, but it's not there at the same time. So one of the sites is fully designed, and we are going to try to move that forward and try to get Army Corps to agree to let us permit everything under the mitigation for that site alone. I don't know if that's going to work yet. That's our kind of path forward. The other site is not fully designed, and that would be quite some time. However, we're also going to try to expedite the procurement of this, given this permitting issue, by getting a contract working on a site that can be fully mitigated. So basically, we're slicing up the contracts so we can start work at one location while the other locations are still waiting for their mitigation to come through. That's really an oversimplification, even though it sounds really complicated, of a really complicated issue.
So it sounds like the Army Corps is really tightening up on their rules.
Yeah, that is what it seems like to us. This was surprising for a lot of us at Parks who were not anticipating this.
Judy, thank you. Charlie Whitman, please join us.
Hi, thank you for recognizing me, Barry and the committee. Eric, thank you for your presentation. I'm interested in the area where the renewal of the Esplanade, the $80 million project from 81st Street to 90th Street. I live at 45 East End Avenue, which is at the base of the start of that project. And that's also, as I understood it, would be the first phase. The 81 through 84 would be the first phase of that project. And we haven't had any information on that project yet. And I'm very interested in it. I live at 45. That's the only area of the Esplanade that fronts residential buildings. So naturally, there's a real interest because of the proximity to residential buildings. I don't know if you have any information on that. So far, there's been nothing we've been able to find out about it.
Yeah, I can let you know that that's a project with the New York City Department of Transportation. We coordinate with them because it's on the top, it's parkland, but the whole thing is actually a bridge over the FDR Drive, which is technically owned by the New York State Department of Transportation. So I know that DOT has been hard at work on a lot of the technical design aspects of the bridge repair. And that's really what takes up the bulk of the time and the money. I know that they've been working on a public presentation. I don't know when they're going to be giving it to you, but it should be very soon.
And I guess one of the concerns, if we want, one of the things we're concerned about is getting a chance for the community to be able to have input in the design. And I don't know when you envision that as happening.
I'm not sure. That's probably something you're going to have to discuss with DOT when they bring the project to you. I know that since it is a bridge project for structural rehabilitation, there's not that much leeway in terms of design. It's not like a typical parks project where we really want to deliver a usable park space to the community, and we want to know, what is the community interested in, what kind of activities, or seating areas, things like that. That's really not the scope of this. But I'm sure they'll be doing the appropriate community outreach.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Board members now, Barbara Rudder, please.
I first have to say, Barry, that it makes me very sad to think that you won't be here every month running the meeting, and at our community board meeting, you have been an amazing voice of knowledge and sanity and getting things done. And I also have to say that with Judy at your side, it's been great. So I just wanted to express that.
Thank you very much.
And Eric, thank you for everything. I do have a few concerns. When something is held up, I remember years ago, we went astronomically, we had one estimate of how much things would cost, and all of a sudden the estimate skyrocketed because of the time. What's going to happen when finally you do get all the okays? Will the cost be astronomically more, do you think? What's going to happen in terms of cost? And we had no inflation then, and now we have this rocketing inflation.
Well, we didn't have bad inflation, but we did have heavy construction cost escalation in New York City, especially in the last.
You know what I'm talking about, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think about this all the time, and you're absolutely right to be concerned about it. We are going to suffer from additional cost escalation. That's inflation plus, the cost of materials, which has been going up. Maybe, if and when the COVID issue worldwide comes down, if and when global political issues calm down, maybe that won't be as bad as it seems to be right now.
You may have gray hair by that time, Eric.
Yeah, I've got it already, and while working on this project, believe me. But yes, that is a definite concern, and the answer is we do hold some contingency for these projects. And as we've talked about before, some of that was kind of held in reserve in case there's an emergency collapse like we had a few years ago, so we can mobilize it.
That's going to be my second point.
But that's going to get, if escalation keeps going, and if we don't get this permit issue unlocked and get this procurement out the door, then there's a very good chance that we're going to suffer. Now, what happens when bids come in very high is the city's got a few options. We can try to negotiate a little bit. We don't have a lot of flexibility in negotiating with contractors, just because the way our procurement rules are set up. We can try to cut out some of the work and defer it to a future project, or we can go and ask for more money. Those will all be on the table if our existing contingencies don't cover escalation.
Do you think we should be asking for money along the way and putting it in the bank?
No, we really don't. We don't usually do that.
Okay. then my second question, which is something you've heard, and again, you're going to know. Eric, I remember when we had a project by Gracie Mansion that was going to be, you know, of moderate and not starting immediately. And that was Thursday night, and Sunday morning, the whole thing collapsed. I'm worried about 80th Street. I know that is a pretty big hole. I know that, I mean, I just look and see a big hole. You would know how dangerous it is, but it's such a narrow area. It does worry me that it's going to collapse. Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, I'll never say anything 100%. It's hard to find an engineer that would ever say that, you know. We're cagier than doctors and that sort of thing. But the sinkholes that I've seen there, and we have been keeping our eye on them, are not indicative, do not seem to be indicative of the kinds of imminent collapses that we have seen on other places.
Okay.
So if you remember at 76th, that we actually were watching it. We saw that it looked really bad. We closed it off and it collapsed soon afterwards. So we were able to catch that one.
I didn't remember that you, I didn't remember that you.
Yeah, we had it already.
Before it collapsed.
We actually already had it fenced off. Yeah, it was really good.
I just worry that some tragedy is going to happen, that something's going to collapse when somebody is on it or something like that. And I'm wondering if things should be closed off.
If I thought that was the case, I would have closed it off.
Okay, good.
I'm not going to say it's 100% because nothing is certain, but everything that I've seen. You know,
my nervousness about it because we've had it before. And just my third question about John Finley Walk. Years ago, didn't Ben Kalos get money to build something in Brearley School? We were supposed to have things done, and this has been talked about for a long time, and I thought there was going to be some beautification on top, not just fixing underneath and, you know, pavers, but talking about shrubbery and benches and things like that. Am I wrong about that?
I think benches are in the works. I think shrubbery and planting is tough to do on top of a bridge.
Okay.
I think that Mr. Kalos had been announcing the city funding that was part of the city bridge program, in which DOT operates a really robust bridge infrastructure inspection and repair program. And that's where that's where the funding all came from. I think there might have been a small amount that was allocated at some point for a beautification project, but I think when the bridge project was going, that might have been made obsolete. I'm not 100% sure on it. I do know that Parks did that project on one of the entranceways.
No, it was more than that. It was, I thought that there was actually, community input about it, but also Brearley, Barry, maybe you can help out. Brearley was going to do something for that whole bridge that they have over there, that whole.
A vague recollection, but I can go double, and I'll get back to you in the next day or two. Barbara, I'll
Great, thank you, Barry.
Look at my records. Thank you.
What am I going to do without your knowledge of everything?
I'm having it put it in the cloud. It'll all be up there.
We had a presentation on it about a year ago, and it's on the it's on the Parks Committee list. I can point it out as well.
There was something else I remember when Tricia was. Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Barbara, thank you very much. Eric, I have one question for you. At our April meeting, the young lady, Mary Neal Hawk from the New York crew, came to us and said, what's happening with my davit, my gravity davit that had been at 96th Street? And they were talking about a 91st Street area, a 94th Street. Have you any information about that for us?
I know that I spoke with Steve Simon recently and let him know that we cleared the location at 94th Street. I sent him at the area that is structurally acceptable. I don't know what the plan of the Parks operations team is to make that a reality. Fine, so there's an area between 93rd and 94th that is a stable structure that we're okay with. You know, if you recall, we had to condemn the area that it's on because it really just isn't stable.
Good. Well, I appreciate it. I'll get in touch with Steve tomorrow and we'll follow up. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Rita, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Rita Popper, please.
I'm sorry. I'll also just add that location, though, is it's at the north end of where our project is going to be working, and it's within the project area of the future Esplanade project that was funded, and it's going to be in design at the EDC. So it's definitely a temporary location.
Yes, I understand. Again, Barbara, Rita, I'm sorry, please.
Oh my God. I'm having difficulty. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Harry, I apologize. I was here on time, but having a great deal of difficulty with Zoom. I did not hear your announcement. Could I ask you to please repeat it?
I'm sorry, say that again, please.
I could not hear the first 10 minutes of this program whatsoever. I'm having difficulty. Can I ask what your announcement was?
So I did announce that Barry was stepping aside from the community board. And so this is his last Parks Committee meeting, and quite sad that Barry is no longer going to be co-chair of the committee. I think that's what you're referring to.
Yes, that is Barry. All I can tell you is at my very, very first meeting of the community board, which was on Roosevelt Island, and I think you'll remember it because it had to do with the labor people at a Vietnamese restaurant, and they had about 20 people and each one needed an interpreter. We didn't get out of there until maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, and you welcomed me to the community board. You are a quintessential person. I can't understand how we'll function without you, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Rita, that's so very, very sweet and touching. And I can assure you, Community Board 8 will function, will continue to be the prime community board in Manhattan, as we have been over many, many, many years. And I'm sure we'll continue in that vein. Felicia, you have your hand up?
I do. I had a couple of questions. And really one suggestion. Do you have a sense of or an estimate of like each month of delay adds X percentage on the cost of the project?
No, I don't. I think we're at an inflation rate of about 8% right now, annual. So that's the number that I would use, although I haven't parsed it with respect to the construction costs specifically, which might be different from overall inflation.
So one thought to consider with material prices going so high is considering having some kind of price escalation clause in the contract that fluctuates up or down. So if material prices go up, Parks Department pays. If prices go down, Parks Department gets a credit. It's a way of perhaps taking some of the risk out of the contract and maybe saving the Parks Department some money on this contract. So,
yeah, it's not in our standard city contract, but it's definitely something that we can discuss in the future.
And then you talked about expediting the procurement and starting it in different phases, the construction. Would that be one procurement contract, but have it staged in different pieces, or would you be looking at several different contracts?
It would be one contract staged in several places is the way that I'm thinking of trying to do it. There's some downsides to that. I won't get into all the technicalities, which is why we hadn't set it up that way with respect to the permits, but it might be something that we're going to do in the near future.
Okay, and you'd make it clear in the procurement documents that you were doing that in terms of.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And you talked about what was it? The Topside Work that would be open by the end of the month. What can you just clarify what that refers to?
That's from roughly 68th to 70th Street. There was a Parks Department project going on to redo the top side. So pavers, planting, repairing the railing, that sort of thing, beautification.
And is that where the that Con Ed facility is? Because I know there's been a couple of different elements in how it interacts with the Andrew Haswell Green Park, although I may be kind of getting my locations mixed up.
Yeah, no, it's not the same as either of those. It's between those two things.
Okay.
The work around Andrew Haswell Green, the work around the Con Ed station that's going to be done by the Hospital for Special Surgery. I think that they're still finalizing design.
Okay. Okay. Thanks. That was all I had, Barry.
Thank you very much, Philippe. Eric, I want to thank you so very much for joining us this evening and bringing us on the Esplanade. It's a vital part of our community, and we have great love and affection for it. And we just like to know that it's in very good hands, as we know it is now with your department. Again, thank you very much. And we'll be talking, even though I may not be a member of the community board.
You've got my phone number.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Eric.
Felicia, you want to take the next one?
Sure, absolutely. Sheena, can you give us an update on what's been going on?
Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Barry, yes, it's gonna be sad that you're going, but I'm sure I'm gonna hear from you soon. All right, so my update is the Tramway Plaza, the Roosevelt Island Operating Court. We completed the punch list for the planting, the fixing of the mismatched tiles, the planters, and obtaining the big belly receptacles. So that should be coming soon. The work at John Jay Sitting area appears to be completed 4 months ahead of schedule. An inspection is scheduled for this Friday, and we'll let you know when we're going to open the area. And like Eric mentioned, the East River Esplanade from 68th to 70th, in about 2 weeks, we're going to open up the area. So that's good. The Honey Locust project is about 23% finished and is scheduled to be completed on the 17th of January 2023. Rubric Park, we're going to do some borings from May 17th to the 20th. So that's just to make sure that the soil and everything is correct and right. And so we're going to be removing pieces of the fence, the wrought iron fence, to do it, and then we'll reinstall it back once we're done. So it's going to be 7 areas that we're going to be working on during those 4 days.
And when were those 4 days again?
May 17th to the 20th. This past last week we had the Carl Schultz gala, inside Carl Schultz on the basketball court, and it went very well. A lot of people there, a lot of visitors, and it was quite beautiful. So a whole good setup. And I think that's about it I have.
Thank you very much. That's very encouraging news. I'm delighted that the John Jay is going to be opening soon. That was significant. We have some questions from members of the public. Stephanie Reckler, would you unmute Stephanie, please? Go ahead, Stephanie. Well, there's something amiss here.
Stephanie, we can't hear you. You're unmuted, but your sound is not picking up.
Yes. Yes, they are. Yeah.
No, we can't hear you. You may want to check your audio settings and we'll come back to you.
Yeah, if you find out what your problem is, you put it in the chat so that Will can pick up on it. Thank you, Stephanie. Let's go to Mubin. Are you here? That's good evening, Mubin.
Good evening, Barry. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Well, first, let me congratulate you on an extraordinary tenure. I know you will always be very active at the community board, but I just want to tell you on a personal note how much I have valued the extraordinary amount of counsel you've provided us these past few years as we've managed Rupert Park. I really did not even have an inkling at the level of work a community board gets engaged in. I mean, I know it's one thing to read it in the papers, but quite another to actually attend these meetings and see the level of commitment that all of you provide and offer to our neighborhoods and our communities. So I want to thank you so much for what you've done for the Upper East Side, but also for the amount of advice and counsel you've provided our group. I think we have grown a lot in the work we've done with Rupert Park through a lot of feedback that you and Tricia provided us over the years. So I'm very, very grateful for it. And I wish you the best of luck. I know you'll keep doing many extraordinary things. So thanks again.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to make an announcement, as I had done at the last meeting, that we're very excited. We will be having our semi-annual Environmental Stewardship Day at Rupert Park this next Saturday, not this Saturday, but the Saturday after next on May 21st from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. I would invite all of you to participate. Please come join us. Invite the neighbors and community members in your district. This year, the Parks Commission has promised us a wonderful band. So we will have the accompaniment of a wonderful jazz band. There'll be park rangers. We have some new creative, eco-friendly arts and crafts that we haven't done before. So we're excited to offer that to the public and the neighborhood. And of course, we will be planting anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 plants. We really want Rupert Park to come alive with some color. And so all the help we can get and participation, we look forward to it. There will also be wonderful free giveaways and free refreshments. And we will continue to operate in a COVID protocol in spite of a lot of relaxation that the city has afforded us. But in the interest of everyone's health, we are going to request everyone to ideally stay masked and minimally stay socially distanced. So we look forward to seeing hopefully many, many of you there.
Thank you, Mubin. I've been to a couple of those events and they're very, very worthwhile. I urge anyone who has a time on May 21st to make the time on May 21st to be at Rupert Park with the Muslim volunteers. Again, thank you very much.
Mubin, can I ask you with that? Do people need to sign up to participate or just show up? Oh, you're muted. Will, can you unmute Mubin?
Felice, they do. We had sent the information to Community Board 8. I'm happy to resend it to you. There is a registration link. It takes less than 15 seconds to do it, but people do need to sign up for the event because Parks Commission mandates a certain number of people that are permitted to come and volunteer. Of course, it's a pretty big number this year now that the COVID protocol has relaxed a little bit, but it's a big space. So even having 150 to 200 volunteers, it's lost. We like to mulch both the northeast and the southeast field. That's an uphill task. Just bagging the rake leaves is an uphill task. And we really want to get the planting done for parks. And that's in this one occasion. So they do, let me just go ahead and send you the information again. But if people go to our social media, which is our handle is very simple, it's at M as in Mary, V as in Victor, the number 4, NY, at MV for New York. The link is in the bios. And we're pretty much posting every day now till the event. And people can also email us at muslimvolunteersfornewyork@gmail.com. And I'm happy to send the information to them.
Would you send it to Will, please, and then he can distribute it to the members?
I shall do that.
Oh,
And
great.
if you're subscribed to our newsletter, it's been in our newsletter.
Yes.
Yes, thank you so much, Will. I really appreciate it. And hopefully the link is there. If not, we can resend it.
There's no link on that flyer, but
it's not on the flyer. It goes in the email that I sent you.
Okay, we can.
And it's
set that
also
up.
in our bio on our social media sites. I can send it to you.
Yeah,
if you can put it on your social media, that'll be extraordinary.
Send me one of those tweets and I'll put it in the chat for everybody here.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
And one final question. For those who volunteer, is there anything that they should bring with them? Anything to be prepared?
So no, we just want people to be dressed. We want people to be dressed appropriately for the weather, to wear comfortable shoes. we encourage, because we're trying to be environmentally responsible. So we encourage people to bring their own bottles. We provide water, and we provide beverages in paper cartons. And because of COVID, unfortunately, there is a lot more plastic than we would like. So all the refreshments we will provide will be individually bagged so that there is no contact. Otherwise, in the past, we used to have open platters of organic and healthy food. We'll still try to be as healthy as we can be. But no, just if everyone can come, we provide you the tools, the gloves, the plants, everything is there, working with parks and partnerships for parks. We have it all. Sheena was kind enough to come out last week and meet with us and walk through the plan. So we're really looking forward to having all of you. We will have, hopefully, the only one person I am trying to reach, if you have any ideas, is former council member Ben Callos. All the council members and other elected officials have been invited, but I've been trying to reach him, and he has not yet responded, because he's the one who has sponsored or financially supported a part of this event. And I would love to have him there. He's never missed it before. So we would love to have him there. So if anyone has any clues or sees him, please tell him we'd like to see him there on the 21st.
Thank you, Mubin. We'll look into that. And
Thank you.
Felice, regarding how you appear at the event, the last couple of years I've been showing in my Superman costume. It's very appropriate. I see Stephanie is back with her hand up. Are you now audible? You have to be.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Hey, bravo. Sheena, you were just lucky for the event at Carl Schurz Park. The weather cleared and it was a terrific event. I have a question. The Rupert Park renovation, is there a timeline on that?
I probably guess about another year and a half or less.
Will you close the park for any length of time, or do you work around do you work areas?
No, we close the whole park when we do a full capital renovation. The entire park closes.
Okay, all right. I sent to Will and Russell an announcement of the Park Avenue tulip dig. Every year they allocate certain blocks where people can go dig up tulips at the end of the season. That's happening May 23rd for the week. And the areas are 86th Street and 54th Street. I don't know if the announcement has been sent. There it is. Okay. We have, in our building, we have dug up tulips and then planted them in tree wells. And this year's tulips are pale rose. So I don't know if anybody wants to dig the tulips up. You really need a pitchfork. I mean, you need real gardening equipment. You can't do it, with a big spoon. It's a production, but it's well worth it. And that's all I have to say. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Stephanie. That's very well done. Thank you. Now we go back to Rita Popper and then Barbara Rutter.
Mubin, we look forward to your annual event. It is always so wonderful. I always feel heartbroken that the canines like your plants as much as we do and trample them. But I just really want to go on the record for this. I witnessed something that literally I almost had a heart attack over. I was standing on 2nd Avenue right in front of Rupert Park, and suddenly one of the dog owners that was in the northeast quadrant screaming, and along came the smallest dog I've ever seen, going literally 80 miles an hour, and jumped out of the park down the main entrance on Second Avenue. The owner was in the park screaming the dog's name. The dog rounded it and entered the park up on 91st Street. It was a harrowing experience for everybody to watch this because the traffic was really flowing on Second Avenue. So I decided to sit in the park for a little while. And of course, finding a bench without pigeon excrement on it is also a little bit difficult. And what I have found out is that dogs do not completely digest their food, and their excrement is very welcomed by the pigeons. So, I mean, go no. So that's number one. But now also the dogs are free to roam in 3 quadrants, or they have chosen three quadrants, even the center part, which was never used before. And they're running around on the, not inside those places, but on the paths. I fear for somebody in a stroller, a baby in a stroller or a little one. And if they, if something happens, it looks like something is, just waiting to happen. I know this will all go away in 1.5 to 2 years, but is there anything that we could do? I mean, it's almost protecting the dogs from getting killed on Second Avenue and protecting the people who don't know whether a dog is friendly or not. So, and it's a problem every single day, and you know it. I don't know what can be done.
Well, Rita, one thing I can do is I can call Steve Simon again tomorrow and discuss this matter and see if there's a way of getting a PEP officers there, or some kind of enforcement, or some kind of notification to members of the public who disregard the rules regarding dogs off leash. I don't know that there's an answer, but it would certainly worth pursuing. So maybe we could raise the awareness of this problem. It's not just in John Jay, it's not just in Rupert Park. We have the problem in Carl Schurz Park, in John Jay Park. And I will see if we can, maybe what we need is something that goes back to 20, 30 years of public service announcements, not necessarily only in the press or on the radio and TV, but when the social media it's not good form to let your dog run around wild. Anyway, we'll see. I'll pursue it with him and see if we can come up with some not remedy, but some attempt to address a very serious problem.
Thank you.
And just to add to that, and I'm sure you've seen it as well, Sheena, dogs really have taken over a good portion of the park, and people act as though each quadrant is their own personal dog run. I see that in part, to Barry's point, I see it in parts of Carl Schurz Park. We've recently gotten a complaint about that being an issue at John Jay Park as well.
Yeah, it's a major problem. Hopefully we'll be able to increase our PEP team in the coming future. They're probably going to be starting up a little earlier, probably after Memorial Day. I got to get the timeline that they're going to start, but they come on at 10 o'clock now. Hopefully they'll be starting at 8 soon. Even earlier. So hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to increase the PEP, our PEP unit, because it's needed. Carl Schurz, John Jay, Rupert, we fenced off a big portion of Rupert with some black fencing. And I'm also going to, once the borings are done, once they're completed, I'm going to also fence in the dog run area so that the dogs do not jump over the fence to get to another area. So it's, I spoke with a couple of dog owners, they met with me, and I told them I will get some fencing in there so that the dogs can stay contained in there and not jump over the concrete wall that's there because it's very low. So, hopefully, some good things that will come in the future, especially when the park is redone. And then they'll have their own dog run and that they can stay in their area and not, spill over into the new area, or, the playground area or the sitting area where people just want to relax.
Thank you, Sheena. And I just wanted to ask you, oh, I'm sorry, Rita, you were up.
I know that there is no solution right here. I was just going on record because I honestly feel it's an accident waiting to happen. The speed of the dogs running in the park, through the paths, through everyone is what, I mean, they're in a herd and there are children and sometimes they don't mix and sometimes they do. So I just wanted to go on record. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
Sheena, can I just ask you, when you're doing the borings, will there be any rat abatement as well for disturbing the soil, or a way to kind of add to some additional rat abatement?
I can see that we could address that. It's a big problem here, though. The rodent activity is a huge problem there. I'm sure in other places as well, but it is there. So I will see if we can, get them to increase once they're done.
Okay, thank you very much.
Stephanie, I see you have your hand raised. Is this something new? And we be brief, please, and we want to wrap this up now. Go ahead.
Yes, I walk by, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sheena, I walk by Rupert Park very regularly. I happen to have 2 large dogs. I don't take them in the park, but it's a free-for-all now. And I suggest, can't you get a policeman? Can't you get posted hours for dogs to enter the park, like before 9 o'clock in the morning, and off leash before 9 o'clock in the morning, and then on leash thereafter? But I agree with Rita that it is an accident waiting to happen. They're just wild, and you suggest to somebody that they put their dog on a leash and they look at you like you're from another planet. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
I don't know if with that has to probably come enforcement so that people are understanding what we are trying to accomplish. And I don't think I have the enforcement now to be able to fully, go. We can have the sign, but the sign could just be existing. Without the enforcement behind it, it probably is not going to work. They are all over the place here, and hoping that when I put the fencing over in the dog area, that it contains it a little more. So once after the 20, probably by the 29th or so, I should be able to have it if the fence comes through.
Thank you very much, Sheena.
Lynn Cashman, member of the public, has a comment or question. I hope it's a question rather than a comment.
I wanted to ask about the conservatory water in Central Park and the sailboats that haven't been, operating, mainly because I guess of COVID. But does anybody know when that operation is going to open, if ever?
I think we're having some representatives from Central Park Conservancy come to next month's meeting. We can ask them then.
Right, that's
Okay.
correct.
I just wanted to add accolades again to Barry. Terrific guy. And especially very, very helpful when we had the Second Avenue subway project. He was really right on top of it and helped us out tremendously. So thanks, Barry.
Thank you very much, Lynn. I really appreciate it. Good words. Barbarata has her hand raised. Excuse me.
First of all, I just want to say, Naveen, I continue to be unbelievably impressed with every bit of work you've done. But I do have a very quick question. What's happening with the exercise equipment on the Esplanade? Do you know, Sheena? Do you hear me?
Sheena, you're on mute.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What do you mean, the new exercise, the new area?
Yeah, the new area that was talked about last time.
No, I don't have, and I thought they were gonna come back to give the final presentation for
Okay,
that.
thanks.
So that's, I think because someone had some issues with some of the stuff, the equipment that Park had proposed. That actually was kind of done before I got here, but then when we were on the last meeting, there was a gentleman on, I don't know, necessarily complaining, but he has some concerns. So when they gave the presentation, I guess they're gonna look into whatever he was speaking about and see what they can do.
Barbara, you do realize with the community board, the committee passed a resolution unanimously in support of the installation of exercise equipment. And because our meeting occurred in April after the full board, it will not be voted on by the full board until this month. And the people at HSS said they wanted a resolution from the community board before they go forward. So,
Okay,
so everyone show up at the
I'm showing up.
next Wednesday. I'll be there. At least I hope I'll be there. May not be. I don't know yet. Because if the new appointments come out before then,
Well, then you come as a public member and say it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I think we're done. Stephanie, you have a hand raised one more time, and then we'll see what you have to say, please.
I had wondered if there was going to be a trash basket included in the design of the exercise area under the bridge. And also, are there hours for use? And are the lights going to be on a timer?
All those questions have yet to be answered. We brought the questions to the applicant. The likelihood of a trash basket being there is well, we don't know yet. Let's put it that way. I don't believe it'll happen. We did ask about signage and lighting. We did ask about a trash basket. We're waiting to hear again until the community board votes on it. It's in limbo, and that will be next Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other further questions, comments?
I think Rita and has her hand up again.
I just have a question. When a dog owner gets a ticket for having a dog off leash during hours that they're not permitted, what happens if they don't pay that? It's not like getting a summons in your car and it gets against your license and it goes to your mortgage company or whatever it is. But what happens when the park department gives these people a ticket? Do they just put it in their pocket, or I don't know if there are any justifications for not paying it.
The tickets are like any other ticket that you get from the city, like a parking ticket or whatever. If you don't answer to them, eventually a warrant does go out for your arrest. That's like any ticket. It's a serious ticket. It's like you get a ticket in the subway. If you don't answer the ticket, after a while it piles up and then the city comes looking for you. So it's like any other tickets, the city, I'm sure it probably has a limit to which you can go up to before they start these actions. But the tickets and the fines are serious. They're like any other ticket you get.
Thank you.
Judy?
Move to adjourn, and thank you very much, Mr. Schneider, for your service.
You're talking about the community board service. Phew, you had me worried there for a minute. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. We're all adjourned here. Again, thanks for those very, very warm and kind comments. I greatly appreciate it. And we'll be seeing you. You'll be seeing me again very, very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Good.
Bye-bye.